Hey everyone, so I want to share a really great recipe that I found on Pinterest about a year ago for a garlic cheesy French bread. Now this is an amazing recipe. I've made it several times. My husband and I both love it. The only problem is that it makes 2 loaves and we eat both. And it's just very heavy, it's very rich, but it is just so amazing. So I just want to go over with you all the things that you need for the recipe. I don't have the exact measurements on me, but I will link the Pinterest link below. So you need flour. The recipe calls for bread flour, but all I have is all-purpose flour. That's all I've ever used, and it turns out fine for me. Honey, a cup of warm water, some active dry yeast, some salt, some white sharp cheese, some olive oil, and this is actually the secret to this recipe. This is Kerrygold garlic and herb butter. The only problem is that I can only find this at Randall's in my area. I've looked at Walmart, I've looked at H-E-B, I've looked at Kroger. I just can't seem to find this butter anywhere else except for Randall's. And usually when I do go to Randall's, it's either they're sold out or they only have a few sticks left. I guess just because it's a very popular butter. And so when I do find it, I buy quite a few and I'll just put them in the freezer because you can freeze butter just fine. But this stuff is, oh my gosh, this stuff is seriously amazing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this bread. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take 1 cup of the warm water with the packet of dry yeast, and then I believe 1 tablespoon of the honey, and you're gonna put it in the bowl and mix it together and activate the yeast. Okay, so my trick for measuring honey is whenever you take your tablespoon, you take a little bit of vegetable oil and just spray it, and that way the honey won't stick as much. So I'm just gonna spray this over the sink. And then again, so it calls for 1 tablespoon of honey. A little bit more, there you go. And as you can see, it doesn't stick. So you get a majority of it out. See, so there's hardly any in there. If actually there's none. So yay. Okay, and then also move this up a little bit closer so you guys can see. 1 cup of warm water. I'm just doing this all in my stand mixer. And then the dry yeast. So I'm gonna put this in there. Go ahead and take this dough hook attachment off. I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Make sure it's all incorporated. Okay, and again, we're going to let this sit for 5 minutes. Okay, so now the yeast has been activated, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's because there's a little bit of foam here on the top. That means it's activated. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add it to my bread, my flour that I already have mixed. Now, again, the recipe calls for bread flour, but I've never used it. I've always used all-purpose, and I'm wondering if I should try using it with the bread flour. I wonder if it'll make the bread like a little bit softer, because one thing I have noticed is that it's only good right after you take it out of the oven. I mean, if it sits for a little while, it becomes hard. So I wonder if using bread flour will help. But again, I've used all-purpose flour, and it seems to work pretty good as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put the paddle attachment, the dough hook attachment on here. And the recipe says not to, if you use a stand mixer, not to go over setting number 2. So I'm going to set it on 2 and start adding in the flour little bits at a time. I'm just going to use a spoon here. Okay, so the recipe says once it gets to this stage where it starts to pull away from the side of the bowl a little bit, set the timer for 5 minutes, walk away, let your machine do the rest. Okay, so the dough is complete. Now, you can tell that it's done when you touch it, and it's a little sticky, but nothing comes off on your fingers. So what you do is you take a little bit of the olive oil, and you drizzle it over, and you're going to coat it, as well as the side of the bowl. Okay, so the next thing we do is we are going to take a cloth or some plastic wrap and cover it and let it rise and come back in an hour, and it should be double in size. Make sure you use a cute towel as well. Okay, so it's been an hour, and as you can see, it has doubled in size. So you're gonna punch it down. Okay, and after you've done that, take it out, put it directly onto the countertop.
Ew!
It's not ew.
Yes, it is.
And we're cut it into two equal portions. Okay, so according to the recipe, you take it and you stretch it and twist it. And you're gonna put it on a cooking sheet. And let it sit for about 30 minutes and letting it rise. So it also should double in size. So I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees. I'm going to cover it again, and I'm going to set it next to the oven so it can continue to rise. Alrighty. Okay, so I put the bread in the oven for about 17 minutes at 350 degrees. So you pull it out right before you're done baking it, because you take a knife and you start to cut some slits into it. Don't cut all the way down, obviously, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your garlic butter that you have melted down, and you are going to start very carefully, because it is still pretty hot, putting it in between the little slits like that, as you can see. So this is the part where it starts to kind of get a little messy, but you know what? It is all worth it, trust me. So the last part over here. It is important to get every little slit because it kind of bleeds into the bread. So just take your time doing it. And then the next thing you'll do is, you can see I've already pre-cut all of my little pieces of cheese, and it's just as simple as just putting them inside the slits. Okay, so I'm just going to put this back in the oven for probably no more than 5 minutes, just long enough for the cheese to melt. And then I'll take it back out, and then I'll do one more final coat of the butter, and then we'll be ready to eat it. Okay, so I just pulled it out of the oven, and you can leave it in a little bit longer if you want it to brown a little bit more on top, but I kind of like it like this because it's really soft on the inside and not too crunchy on the outside, which again is why I probably need to try actually using bread flour for this particular recipe. I bet it does make a difference, but just let me know if you try it, and if you like it, just leave a comment below, and yeah, we're gonna dig in. So thanks for watching. Bye guys.